the feeling that you're that close to losing your mind.
Welcome to the Friendly Banter Podcast. Back again for our Saturday episode. A lot of, rumors and reports have been swirling around since the finals ended, so we're here to kind of break it down. I'm your host, Cade Zook, here with my co-host,
Brandon Yoder.
And let's get into it right away. So some things we'll be covering is some contract extensions, coaching news again. Still got, I guess we're down to 2 openings now. Some trade rumors and just overall offseason movement. A lot has came out in the past couple of days, as well as some trades. Actually, we'll get into the Caruso and Josh Giddy trade. But let's go ahead and start right away with some Cavs coaching news. We've been saying this whole time, James Borrego. Everything was pointing towards James Borrego, but we've actually had some conflicting reports come out recently about Kenny Atkinson. So, Brandon, do you want to kind of explain what has shifted in the past 24 hours?
Yeah, all right. So, I've seen twice now people saying Atkinson has kind of reemerged as the favorite. First one was Terry Polito, who is a Cavs guy specifically, and then Mark Stein, who's just kind of a general NBA guy. Now, this could be from recommendations from like Caris LeVert and Jared Allen, which, I mean, if that's the case, well, first off, they're both under Atkinson in that 1 year with the Nets where D'Angelo was an all-star for him. But if that's the case and he's getting traction because of those recommendations, that probably means Caris and Jarrett are both staying. And I'm not happy about that one bit. I've kind of talked myself back into Jarrett staying, but Caris, I've never liked him, and I want him off the team. Just give me someone else in that spot. I don't care who it is. So yeah, that's not very encouraging. Plus, I've kind of, at the beginning of this whole process, I did kind of have Atkinson as my favorite, but everything that I've learned about Borrego from them until now has pushed him over the top for me. Where, I mean, Atkinson is still going to be an upgrade over JB, but I would just rather have Borrego at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think if we go with Kenny Atkinson, like the sky's falling or it's a bad hire by any means. Like, I do like it. I do like him. But yeah, Borrego is kind of like, the more I've learned about him, the more I'm kind of like all for going with him. And it is, I mean, we've had kind of a good feeling now for at least a week that a lot of our core players are just going to come back and we're going to try to run it back again for a 3rd year straight, which I'm not a fan of. So it doesn't really surprise me. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Especially if that is really the reasoning. I'm actually extremely disappointed because I think it's just poor. But I don't think as far as the actual coach you're getting is a bad coach. I think he'll do a fine job. But who knows, really? Like, I feel like it just keeps changing. So if Donovan Mitchell's back in Borrego and you go with Atkinson because of Caris and Jarrett, I just don't understand the thought process behind that. But I guess we will see. I don't think that if they do hire Atkinson, like 99.99% sure that Donovan gave it the okay, but I mean, we'll see. Who knows?
I think I heard Donovan gave the okay on everyone that's still kind of left in the race for them. So I'm sure Atkinson got the Donovan approval, I guess.
Better have.
Yeah.
We have serious issues. Yeah, so we'll just keep everyone updated on what's going on. It's a fluid situation, clearly. I don't think really anyone knows, but it should be interesting. I'm hoping we get some news in the next 2 to 3 days max, because it's kind of dragging on at this point. I
want a decision to be made.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of where I'm at too. We did get some. Between our last episode and now, we got 2 upcoming free agents have officially signed extensions or agreed to extensions with their teams, so that kind of thins it out at the top a little bit. Those guys are Siakam has agreed to an extension the Pacers and Malik Monk also agreed to an extension with Sacramento. The Siakam numbers look like he signed a 4-year max, $190 million. I like Siakam. I like the move. Do you have any like specific thoughts about the numbers or the value that the Pacers got? And I feel like there wasn't really any other option than giving him a max if you wanted him. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did what they had to do, which was, re-sign the guy that you traded for. But I've also heard some stuff about, the TV deals are going to be going through the roof. So like 190 million does seem like a lot for a guy like Siakam. But I mean, with how much the salary cap is going to go up and stuff, this is going to be pretty standard. So if I'm the Pacers, I'm not sweating it. I'm just giving him the money and then, reaping the benefits of him being on the team.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good fit with Indiana too. It's one of those moves. It's like you see the number and you're like, oh, man, that's a lot for Siakam. And then you just like kind of just got to come to terms with the NBA that we're living in right now, to where that's just what's going to happen. And so I don't think you can really say, I'm just indifferent on the deal because it's like it just had to be done. There's no really like analysis to say there. Just it had to be done.
Yeah. The numbers really makes sense contextually.
Yeah, I agree. So then, next guy, Malik Monk, re-signed with Sacramento. Do you want to give the breakdowns of that deal and your thoughts on it?
Yeah, 4 years, $78 million. So just a hair under $20 million a year on average. I'm really glad that he was able to, re-sign with them because he's been very good for him. Was the runner-up for Sixth Man of the Year this past year.
Yes.
And has just been like a pretty good fit on that team, especially with like Kevin Huerter, for example, has been kind of not super great. Well, Huerter had kind of a down year after really breaking out for them the year before. So that really means Monk is kind of maybe taken over a little bit at the shooting guard spot. I don't know if he's actually going to start for them or if he's going to stay on the bench, but regardless, if I had to rank the two players, I would put Monk a little bit higher. So that's going to be a good boost for the Sacramento team. Yeah, he's a good guy. It's good to have him stick around. And also, I think this is his first not first real NBA contract. It's the first time he's going to be making double-digit millions in a year. This past year, it was 9.9, but because you look at kind of his contract history, it was the rookie deal, then it was like a 1-year minimum deal with the Lakers, which at that point, he should have been getting like a real NBA deal at that point.
Yeah.
And then after that, signed for like 2 years, 19 with Sacramento. And now he gets like a real bag with them at 78 million. So definitely happy for Malik Monk after having kind of a rough start to his career. Glad that it's all working out for him. And also glad that there's a team that's actually recognizing that he's really good. Because honestly, even like in his last year in Charlotte back in 2021, he was good at that point as well. Just no one really kind of recognized it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Charlotte, whether it was the rest of the league, just kind of went under the radar. So now he's actually finally getting paid for his contributions, and Sacramento's going to get a lot of good basketball from him. A lot of scoring, a bit of supplementary playmaking with it, some good 3-point shooting. Yeah, all around good move.
Yeah, if you would follow us on X, you would already have seen what we thought about this contract. I do love it. I love what they did. He was actually a guy, like if the Kings were... I'd seen a lot of rumblings during the season that the Kings would maybe not re-sign him because of the value of his contract. He was a guy I was really interested in the Cavs. If we had unloaded Garland and Allen and kind of tried to retool our team around Donovan Mitchell, he was a guy that I was interested in getting in like a sign-and trade and kind of replacing Caruso LeVert, but actually being good at the role. Yeah. And so I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I knew it was going to happen as we got closer to free agency, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Malik Monk. Good for him. He's kind of the definition, or like the prototypical, like what I want in an NBA player that is, making around that $20 million mark, is that he can, get buckets, shoot the ball well, and make plays. And it's kind of exactly, he's the player that we all wanted Caris LeVert to be. And LeVert's not. He's just not. But yeah, I'm a fan. I think it was definitely a good deal for Sacramento. I don't think they'll regret that in 4 years. I think they'll be happy with it. So now we got probably the biggest news of the offseason so far. The Chicago Bulls have finally decided to make a trade, which needs to be applauded because they've been in absolute denial of the state of their team for a while now. Alex Caruso was sent to Oklahoma City for Josh Giddy.
And nothing else.
Nothing else. No picks. Nothing at all. Oklahoma City, fantastic trade for you guys. Fantastic trade. I mean, you went from Giddy being like the worst guy in your starting five that you kind of wanted to replace to Alex Caruso, who is great fit on that team, can defend extremely well, can shoot better than Giddy. He might not have the playmaking Giddy brings, but you don't really need it when you have Shea on your team. It's not needed. So It's just an upgrade all around for Oklahoma City, and the fact that you hung on to all your assets to get him for a guy that you didn't want back anyways is the only thing you unloaded. I love it. I think it's a great deal. And I would give it an A+ easily for Oklahoma City. The Bulls, no grade. I just don't want to give it a grade. What do you?
First off, one thing that I really hate is when bad teams hoard good players. For example, the Brooklyn Nets with Mikal Bridges, they're never going to trade him. They're always going to be like, oh, let's build around him and stuff like that. Like, come on, just be objective for once. Recognize your team's not good. Recognize you need to rebuild. Trade the guy. It was the same thing with Caruso. He should have been traded a year or two ago when he was at peak value, and when it was clear that this Bulls team wasn't going anywhere. Same thing with the Cavs a few years ago with Larry Nance. We had someone offering 2 first-round picks at the deadline, and then they didn't take it. I don't get it. Bad teams should not be hoarding good role players.
I do understand it though, because you gotta for us, we're just fans of basketball and fans of the team that we just want to see them make the right team building move. But it is their job, and when you trade away good players, your record is going to get worse. And if you don't have the backing of your ownership, there's a good chance that you are jobless. So I do kind of understand sometimes, but Chicago was a dumpster fire. They waited way too long.
Yeah. And then also just hate it from number one, it makes trade deadlines boring. I want to see the good players get traded to good teams and then go from there and see what happens in that end. Like, for example, the Mavs this year, they traded for role players at the deadline, and then they made it to the finals because of that. So I want to see more of that. Yeah, so they should have traded him a few years ago. Also, one other thing with Caruso, he had pretty easily his best offensive season this year. Averaged 10 points for the first time in his career, but the big thing was shot 41% from 3 on about 5 attempts a game. So that's pretty huge from him because it's always been amazing defender, but it's just good enough at 3-point shooting to where you have to guard him kind of. But now it's been he's been kind of a legit 3-point shooter this year. So
even if he does
fit in very well.
Yeah, he's going to fit in great. But even if he does have a regression shooting the ball, it's still going to be better than what Josh Giddy brought.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no way it backfires for Oklahoma City. This is a great move.
No, not a chance. And also, Giddy doesn't have the upside to punish Oklahoma City for trading him, because the thing when he was coming into the league, it was amazing playmaking, very crafty. Is the rest of the stuff going to be good enough? And then gets the league, and it turns out it isn't. The finishing is not great. Anytime he can't create stuff at the rim for himself. He always has to like put up these little flip shots and stuff like that. It's a very finesse approach, which there's nothing wrong with finesse approach, but I mean, like, he doesn't have like any of the physical tools to like overpower defenders. Yeah, he's a big dude, but he's not strong in that aspect. He doesn't play very strong. He can't really get by anyone either. And then, doesn't really like finish through contact or anything. So you look at what he's got and it's like, okay, he can barely shoot the ball. The biggest strength is his passing and rebounding. Those are the two real things he brings to the table. Defensively, he's all right. He's not bad on defense, but he's also not like insanely good.
He's not Alex Caruso.
Yeah, no. And then like anything inside the arc, again, it's like these little kind of shorter shots where it's some of the in-between game. Not so much like mid-range, but again, like that kind of 3 to 10 foot range is kind of where he does the majority of his damage. Also in the OKC offense, he did get a lot of open looks at the rim though, so that does kind of boost his numbers in that aspect, but I don't see those numbers kind of staying when he goes to Chicago. They don't have nearly the same like infrastructure offensively for him to where he can, get looks at the rim. Because in Oklahoma City, he was definitely more of like a glue guy type piece. Whereas with Chicago, they're going to look to him to be a little bit more of kind of a lead ball handler, lead playmaker. And that's not going to go well. I can tell you that right now. That's just not going to be good for him.
Yeah, I know I saw Chicago said they view him as a potential all-star. I don't really see it. Now, I do think Giddy could maybe have his best years of his career ahead of him. And with Chicago, if they do put him in a role, because his best traits, he needs to have the ball in his hands to be able to like show them. It's going to come with negatives as well, like you just mentioned. But I do think we could maybe see his best years of his career with Chicago. I don't think it's going to be all-star level, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's the
biggest numbers.
I do.
I think he's going to put the biggest numbers of his career in Chicago because he's going to get the ball more often. But as far as like, actual effectiveness, actual impact, it's still not going to be that great. And it's certainly not going to be all-star.
No. And if they plan on him to be like a major building block, I don't know what Chicago's doing. And let's make it clear that they fumbled this. They were asking teams, like teams were offering first-round picks for Caruso throughout his time in Chicago. And then they would go and ask, like, we want 4 unprotected first-rounders. Like, you're not going to get that for Alex Caruso. And he ended up just fumbling again. I mean, DeMar DeRozan had some crazy years with Chicago, where like he was getting MVP talks at times throughout some of the years, and they just hung on to him. Listen, I love DeMar DeRozan. I don't like love his game in the modern NBA, but he's a really good player that can help a lot of teams. Too. Yeah, but you're never going to win a championship with him as your best player. And Chicago's stubbornness to try to do that with him and Zach LaVine and what's his name? What's his first name? Is it
Nikola?
It is Nikola too. I thought I was tripping for a second. I thought, and Nikola Vucevic. You really thought that you were gonna be something. This the stubbornness that killed you. Zach LaVine had some great years with Chicago. You waited. Now look, Zach LaVine's value is probably at the lowest it's ever been. I just don't understand what Chicago's doing. Anyone that knows who Kenny Beecham is, or a King of the Fourth Quarter, knows that he's a huge Bulls fan and knows what he thinks of the Bulls, and he's in the same exact mindset as us, as he doesn't understand this. I think he even tweeted, like, good trade for the Bulls, and it was simply just because they finally decided to trade a player. Like, that's how stubborn this front office has been. They're horribly ran. Jordan is the only good thing to have lasting effect with the Bulls, because Sadly, Derrick Rose, didn't get to play that long with them, effective at a high tier star due to injuries. So yeah, without Michael Jordan, Chicago would probably be the worst franchise in the entire NBA. Maybe not worse than Detroit.
Since Jordan left,
bad.
they've been nothing.
Nothing, horrible. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't understand the thought process. Like, you wait, and then you return to Josh Giddy. Well, how does Josh Giddy help you win in 5 years? He doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
I just don't understand.
Plus, also, why are they trading for a guard anyhow? I mean, I guess Giddy technically played like power forward this past year, but I mean, you look at their Chicago's roster, and like the only players that they have that are like actually good, like, and are going to be there 2 years from now, are Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. 2 guards. Like, why are you trading for another one?
I love Kobe White's awesome too.
Yeah, Kobe White actually had like a pretty
really good year.
Yeah,
he should have maybe won Most Improved Player.
It's yeah, he definitely should have at least been in contention for it.
He was. I think he got second.
Yeah, you're right. He was second in that. But yeah, he went from under 10 points a game to 19 and 5. So
to be honest, I think he probably should have won. I know it's a hot take. I think he should have won the award.
Who did win again?
Maxey.
Okay, yeah, it's between the two.
Like, I get why Maxey won, but if we're looking at things from like beginning of the season, James Harden's leaving, so Maxey's going to have a way bigger usage rate. Like, I don't think it was like unexpected that Maxey had the performance he did. I was, fairly confident that he would be exactly that. I don't think people saw Kobe White coming, but it's not. It doesn't really matter. But Kobe White, big fan, so I don't really get what they're doing either.
It's very similar to like a Devontae Graham type thing versus because that was the same year that Brandon Ingram won it, right?
Dude, no clue. That was in like that dead period of time where I was not watching the NBA.
I want to say it was at the same point, but it's kind of the same thing where you go from a guy that with Devontae and with Kobe White, it's like a guy that was like kind of a fringe player to actually being like a real legit NBA starter quality player, versus the guy that's going from like kind of the low end star to like a pretty bona fide star at that point. Yeah. And it does make sense that, from a voter's perspective, that you would go with the guy that's going from a lower tier borderline star to like a bona fide star. Just because stars are going to get more attention and stuff like that. Like Maxey made the All-Star team. Yeah, I can see how they would go with Maxey, but going from a not basically a fringe NBA player to a real legit NBA starter, honestly, that's probably just as tough of a jump, especially when it's like, year 4 and not or year 5 and not year 1. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, there's an argument to be made on both sides of it. I would have been perfectly happy with Kobe White getting the award on this year.
Yeah, I just think Maxey, like, did it come down to him actually being the most improved player for his jump, or did it come down to him getting the opportunity due to James Harden being dealt?
Yeah, that's also.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there, but it's it's something to consider. But overall, the Caruso trade, A++++ for Oklahoma City. Chicago, I'm gonna give you an A+ too, because you finally just decided to trade a player. I don't even care that you only got Josh Giddy back. Horrible value, but they're actually making a move. Also, I did look. Yeah. I was right. It was the same year. It was 2020. Ingram actually made the All-Star team as well. So those both line up pretty well. Ingram made the All-Star team. Yeah,
won most
improved.
Sense. Devontae Graham did not make the All-Star team, went from basically nothing to an actual NBA starter, and then got like second. So
I have a proposal.
Actually, Devontae Graham was only 5th, but I know he was like, there were people saying he should have been most improved. But yeah, so that was actually a pretty good comparison.
Yeah. I know that Nick Claxton is a free agent this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Thunder have been looking to add a center next to Holmgren. Do you think that would work? I think that'd be interesting with like a Shea, Ludor / Caruso, whoever you want starting, and J-Dub with Chet and Claxton. I think that could be an interesting lineup.
It is definitely very interesting. The thing is, it's going to change their play style on offense. On defense too, but primarily on offense. Because they've really kind of dove into this like 5-out style. They really went to kind of the 5-out style where they could, create drives to the basket for the guys like SGA, Jalen Williams, and then they can do their pick and pops and stuff that, again, leaves no one in the paint. So it's definitely going to be a change in how they do things. But if they think they can play that 4-out 1-in style, which I do think they can, but there's trade-offs to it, of course. So you're going to get more defense, more rebounding, with the Claxton thing. But
rebounding is horrible. Like, that's one of the worst things the Thunder do as a team.
That is kind of their weakness, is rebounding. Thing is, do they think they can kind of cover that with like a Josh Hart type? Not like Josh Hart specifically, but like,
there's no one
more
like Josh
kind
Hart.
of rebounding from your wings and stuff like that? Or do they think they really need to get like an actual center? And how much is that going to benefit versus how much is it going to kind of hurt the offense? It's really something they have to evaluate and come to a conclusion on. I'm kind of thinking I don't know, how badly did they get beat on the boards in the playoffs? Let me look.
I think it was rough.
Yeah, because I mean, they're obviously the first seed, but I want to see kind of how they how that affected their playoffs. Because I mean, because they were the 1 seed, so it clearly didn't matter in the regular season.
Yeah.
But if it was kind of their downfall in the playoffs, then I can't absolutely see that.
Let's just say in the 2024 playoffs, I forget what the actual number is, but the team that out-rebounded the other team won a ridiculously high percentage of the games. I remember them talking about that on the broadcast for the finals.
Oh, okay.
So it mattered a lot this year in the playoffs. I don't know how that correlates to the Thunder specifically, though.
Okay, the Thunder got 73% of their defensive boards. Celtics were like second at 81%. And then the Celtics were kind of middle of the pack on the offense. Thunder were kind of near the bottom in offensive rebounding, but they were really near the bottom on defense as well, whereas Boston really was at the top. As far as kind of in the top half of the defensive rebounding playoffs, the Pelicans didn't go anywhere. Orlando didn't go anywhere either. Denver and then Minnesota.
So
there's definitely kind of.
I would say you gotta take the Magic and Pelicans numbers with like a grain of salt because they didn't have the amount of data, especially the Pelicans. But they didn't have the amount of data as Boston, Thunder, Dallas, Minnesota, because they just simply had more games.
Well, also, I mean, you're going to be, in order to actually get a bigger sample size, you have to actually win a playoff series,
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of correlation to it where, I don't know. Anyhow, I do think rebounding is kind of more important in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. Yeah, you know what? They can still, if it comes down to it and they do need to go 5-out, they do still have, a good lineup that they can put out there with Chet at the 5. So yeah, go get Claxton, play it with like that in the regular season. And then if you need to revert back to the old way in the playoffs, you still have
it gives you flexibility.
Yeah, you do still have your flexibility to do that. So
it's better than putting Jalen Williams the center in. That's so weird. They got 2 Jalen Williams. That's hilarious.
They got him in the same draft too.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, I would be definitely. I would like to see Oklahoma City get a center.
They need something,
at least for the regular season.
Yeah,
Playoffs, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting though. I think it'd be fun. I honestly think their offense would. It was in the playoffs. It was tough for me to watch the Thunder offense because I felt like when you exclusively use Chet as a pick and pop guy, it actually takes away from the offense. Like, I'm not saying you never use it. Chet's, what is Chet, 7'3" and can shoot the ball?
Yeah.
Like, it's an incredibly valuable thing to have, and it should be used, but they just rarely rolled him to the hoop. And I do think no matter, even if you have shooting big men and all those good, valuable things, the pick and roll is still the most essential thing you can do in any offense in any level of basketball. It needs to have some sort of effectiveness and usage in any offense. I did not like that the Thunder didn't really tap into that much.
Yeah. Now that I'm looking at it, their defense in playoffs was still elite. It was the offense that was kind of in the middle of the pack. So, yeah, and kind of their like interior numbers.
The defense
with
would be
like
scary.
how often they were taking shots within 3 feet, and within 10 feet, and how much they were making them. They're both in every single number on that aspect is in the bottom half of the playoff teams. So yeah, I can definitely see an argument where they didn't do a whole lot inside the rim. Also the same thing, like you said, they're popping with Chet the whole time. So yeah, maybe in the playoffs you can't get to the rim like as easy with your stars in isolation. So it'd be good to have an actual roll guy to get to the rim. That way you can just chuck up lobs to him and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm on board with Thunder getting a center, especially if you can get Claxton, who is a free agent. That way you don't have to actually like give up anything for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then from there, then you can make decisions accordingly in the playoffs. Based on fit and counters and stuff like that.
There's been on the way to work yesterday, I was kind of just thinking, just like daydreaming about just basketball things. And one thing I kept thinking about is how much fun it would be if you had Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren on the same team. That would be nuts. I want to see it one day. Make it happen, one of you. Chet or Wemby, yes. Make it happen one day.
Yeah. We almost got Luka and Jokic. Now we need Chet and Wemby.
That would be so much fun, man. But
yeah.
And don't do it until the Cavs are bad, please.
Yes.
So we did talk a lot about the Lakers head coaching job. It is finally finished. We know who it is. JJ Redick is the next Lakers head coach. I love JJ Redick. I tweeted out of our Friendly Banter account. We love JJ Redick, which we do. We love what he brings to the NBA world. But we are not fans of this move for the Lakers. We kind of knew it was coming. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for Los Angeles. What do you kind of, now that it's official, what are your final closing thoughts on JJ Redick landing a job?
There's definitely a world where it works, but it is kind of an unnecessary risk. Like, do you actually think that strongly that Redick is going to be better than the other guys that are available? Like, for example, Chris Quinn in Miami. I think he would have been a good fit in Los Angeles. Like a Micah Nori type too. Again, also like Atkinson and Borrego.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced Redick's going to be better than both those guys. I do think there's a world where he is a decent NBA coach. I just don't know if it's this year. And you kind of need a guy that's going to be ready to coach right away. With the Lakers with LeBron being so old. So, he doesn't have a whole lot of time left. So I'm not exactly sure kind of why you're taking the risk on it, but I don't know. There is definitely a world where it works. Another kind of concern I do have is how are like kind of the other players going to think with LeBron and Redick being friends and stuff like that? Like, do they think there's going to be a little bit of, I want to say daddy's boy, but obviously Redick is not LeBron's father. But you get the same idea where the coach is playing favoritism. Do they think that's going to happen as the other, do the other Laker players think that's going to happen? And if they do, how does that affect the team and stuff like that? So, yeah, I'm just going to, if I had to describe it in 2 words, I'm just going to say unnecessary risk.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I do think, like, I see the appeal in hiring a young coach because if it hits, that gives you years and years and years of building a culture and having, like, stability. And so I do see it from that point.
Plus, also, younger guys are typically more into, like, the X's and O's side of it, analytics, stuff like that. You get the older ones. The older ones are more stuck in, like, their traditional ways and stuff like that. They don't change a whole lot, especially, which matters a lot, especially in a league that is constantly changing. Like, for example, we just saw in baseball this year, Terry Francona, Hall of Fame coach, was amazing for a lot of teams for a long time. And then by the end of it, just couldn't adjust to the league, didn't know what his players were capable of anymore, didn't know how to use them correctly. And then now you bring in a young guy, Stephen Vogt, who has just made a world of a difference for him. Yeah, going from a Hall of Fame manager to a first-time manager and it being an upgrade is just kind of a testament to how much leagues are changing. Obviously, it's baseball. It's not basketball. It's 2 completely different sports, but kind of the trends do still apply. So there is definitely upside in going with a younger guy. That being said, there are also other options that I do think would have been a little bit better. Also, basketball X's and O's are a little bit more complicated than baseball. Baseball is just like making lineup decisions and stuff like that. There's a little bit of game plan and stuff as far as like how we want to attack a certain pitcher and stuff, but the majority of it is less complicated than kind of basketball head coaching. So,
I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think Redick can be a really good coach. I do. Don't love the move just because you're not a rebuilding team trying to find an identity as at this point. It will happen soon. Yeah, it will be happening soon. You still have LeBron and AD though. So I just don't think it was the time to make that move. I think, I like the way JJ views basketball. And I think there could be good elements from the schematic side of things. But I saw some reports that this is their Eric Spoelstra, and I don't know, that's wild to say. It's wild to say at this point.
Not there yet.
No. And hopefully it works out. But we'll see. It'll be interesting, man. The reports, if they don't do good, are going to be wild coming out of Los Angeles. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So then,
imagine they do. Imagine LeBron and Redick do a podcast like 10 games into the year, and they're like 3-7. The world needs that podcast.
I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't. That would not be good. Yeah, so let's move on to the other head coaching job. This one's open still. The Detroit Pistons are interviewing an old friend of ours, JB Bickerstaff. What are your thoughts on that one?
It is kind of a good fit, if I'm being honest. JB has always been kind of the guy that's going to work with like a rebuilding team and stuff like that. Once you get to the higher levels of play, it's like he's just not a good fit there anymore. But for a team that is kind of starting or / restarting their rebuild in Detroit, he does definitely kind of fit in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to get the guys to buy and play defense, stuff like that, which is going to be huge for them. I'd say I like it there. I do. I like it too. My one concern, obviously the offensive stuff isn't great with JB, but the other kind of concern I have is I do think it's going to be a little bit harder for the players to trust him than it was before, simply because of the comments that he made about Luka Doncic referring obviously to Jarrett. I could just be kind of, looking into it too much where I'm not sure, who knows, maybe the players just don't care about it at all. But if they do care about it, it's easy to kind of look at it and be like, okay, we're interviewing the coach that is trashing his former players. Like, that's not, is that a guy I want to play for? So I don't know. It all depends on how much the players care about that type of stuff in Detroit. But if he hadn't, made those comments about Jarrett, I think it'd be kind of I don't want to say slam dunk hire, but it would be a good hire in Detroit for JB.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, JB fits well with teams that are rebuilding. I don't mind it. I think you're going to have a tough time selling your fan base on it, though. So I don't know. He probably wouldn't be one of my top options, but if I'm like, let's say Borrego is your number one and he goes to Cleveland and then you're left with some, your top candidate not being available, then I could see a world where it makes sense for them. But yeah, he probably wouldn't be my top 1 to 2 to 3 candidates. But you never know. I mean, I think he would
kind of
do better.
Looking a little bit more about Detroit's roster, defensively, it definitely has the chance to be very interesting because there's a ton of size and athleticism with Detroit. Between Cade's huge. I got Simone Fontecchio in a trade last year. He's decent defensively. And then Duran Ivy, who's extremely athletic, and then Asar Thompson. One thing JV does really well is he gets guys to make their rotations on defense and be really sharp with them. So just imagining Asar Thompson just coming over from the weak side and just wiping out someone's shot. I do think Detroit's going to be a good defensive team this year, or at least league average.
Yeah. So we got some, I guess, a little Darius Garland update. Now, I know Kobe doesn't really want to move Darius, but if Darius wants to be moved, then he can't really do much about it. So kind of a list of some possible suitors came out, teams that would be interested. And let me tell you, it's a lot of them, a lot of teams. We have Orlando, Brooklyn, Washington, Toronto, San Antonio, Minnesota, Utah, and New Orleans that would all be interested in his services. Man, I don't know what any of those teams would. I know the 2 teams that their trade packages would intrigue me would be San Antonio and New Orleans, and Minnesota too. I don't think the other ones really move me because we all know Brooklyn ain't sending Mikal, so I'm not really
Brooklyn's not sending Mikal Bridges. Orlando, if they send like Jonathan Isaac, and that being said, you're kind of missing like the big piece. Isaac would be cool as like a addition. But
who knows if we even play?
Be kind of the headliner in that. I'm not interested in that. Washington, I don't know what you're getting in a trade with them. Honestly, also I want to say Utah. Utah would be the funniest thing ever.
That would be hilarious.
Utah would single-handedly be the funniest trade because there's only one of 2 options, barring a 3-team trade. And both of those options are extremely hilarious. One, you either get the reunion of Sexland in Utah, or number 2, you're trading Darius for Sexton. In both cases, it's a hilarious outcome. It's either, hey, our starting backcourt from 2 years ago is now in Utah, the one that we thought we were going to build our franchise around, now that's in Utah. Or the other option is, hey, we traded the wrong guy. Let's trade back for Sexton after we already traded him, and you guys have Darius. Both outcomes are hilarious.
No, I think you're missing actually the funniest outcome.
What is the funniest outcome?
I think the funniest outcome would be a world in where Garland goes to the Jazz and we actually get Markkanen back.
Nah, Sexton's funnier.
No, listen, it comes completely full circle. The reunion in Utah, Garland going to kind of fill Donovan Mitchell's shoes in Utah with Sexton, and then bringing back Lauri Markkanen back into the fold. You'd have almost every single piece back involved, and then Agbaji or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Ochai Agbaji. Yeah,
it'd be great.
All right, that is kind of funny too.
Throw him back with Lauri. We'll take both of them back. Actually, let's completely go full circle with it.
You do make a good point. It would also be really cool to see the 3 7-footers again.
It would
Laurie
be.
at 3.
It would be. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think you'll hear anything about Darius Garland until Mitchell resigns, and I kind of don't get the feeling that he's going to request a trade, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Should be a lot of rumors flying out if that happens because he's got a lot of
plus,
interest.
like the only, it's literally just been Rich Paul that's talked about Darius trade as far as like actually requesting it. Like it hasn't come from Darius himself, hasn't come from like, it hasn't come from Darius. It literally has just come from Rich Paul. So if you can get a coach that is able to convince, Rich Paul that they can kind of revitalize Darius, then all of a sudden you lose all your incentive for a trade. So if they nail this head coaching hire, then I think you keep Darius.
Yeah, I can see it. So then we'll finish kind of off the episode with a lot of rumors. There's a lot of them that have hit since the finals ended. So one of the big ones is Brandon Ingram is expected to be traded this offseason, and that is from Chris Haynes. I think a lot of us kind of have come to this conclusion. It'll be interesting to see what team wants to take a bid on his services because I kind of feel like the league as a whole is probably a little bit down on Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely intrigued to see the type of compensation they would receive or that they feel is worth dealing him. A lot of teams could definitely use a guy like with his height and his ability to score the ball, though. So I think there will be people out there for his, wanting his services. I just don't know how that bidding war would get.
Yeah, it's from everything I've heard so far. It's his asking price is extremely high, while at the same time, New Orleans isn't willing to give him a max extension. So it's like something's got to give there. And I kind of think the asking price is going to be the first one to budge because right out of the gate they were asking Darius and Jared Allen. It's like no. Not even no. So I do think if they are actually serious about moving on from Ingram, they are going to lower his asking price. And then from there, things actually start getting interesting. Does that put, a Jared Allen and Caris LeVert for Ingram trade back on the table? I kind of think so. Allen would be kind of perfect for that team. And then they're going to need, some ball handling, which Caris LeVert can kind of provide. Kind of, because he always trips and all of a sudden the ball was in the second row. But yeah, Ingram is, if they are serious about trading him, which I kind of think they are, especially because it's come from Chris Haynes, because Chris Haynes is a guy that I feel like during the regular season, Chris Haynes is just non-existent, and as soon as the offseason starts, that's when you start seeing his name. He's always he's typically been the third guy behind Woj and Shams for releasing free agent signings. So offseason really is Chris Haynes' time to shine. So once offseason time comes around, he starts talking, I'm going to start believing. So yeah, I think Ingram's going to get traded most likely, and it's not going to be for a massive haul. They're going to get a good return, but it's not going to be anything insane.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fitting for a guy like him. He's going to be... You're not going to be able to build around him and have a lot of success. So I don't think that you're going to get a crazy haul. But I think that pairing, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Pelicans, is time to shake some things up there. And
yeah,
I think Ingram's the odd man out between him and Zion, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next report was Malik Beasley is expected to leave Milwaukee. Okay. Who cares? Is kind of my response to that.
I will say that does really allow Milwaukee to kind of fill their hole with their perimeter defense. Obviously, they really added him to get more shooting into that starting lineup. But, when you trade Drew for Dame at the same time, it really just they seriously had no on-ball defense on the perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they kind of want to go back in the other direction, kind of regain their defensive identity. In that case, they'll really be looking for a defensive shooting guard. Caruso would have been perfect for them, but obviously he's not that. And then also, I don't think they really had the assets to kind of trade for him. I mean, well, if Chicago actually values Giddy that high, then in their eyes, that's a pretty hefty return. So Milwaukee would have to also give a real hefty return. But yeah, I kind of agree with them looking for a different starting two guard. To kind of regain that defensive identity.
Yeah. I like Malik Beasley, but they need to go a different direction. And I've seen a lot of stuff coming out and Doc Rivers kind of wants to reshape the team. And that doesn't mean like get rid of Dame or anything, but reshape the team around Damian Lillard and Giannis. So I think that does open flexibility. I saw another piece where they want to move off of Brook Lopez to get more defensive versatility, which I also don't hate.
There's a world where it works, but I don't know. At this point, I just rather keep Brook Lopez. He's still outstanding defensively, and Brook was not the problem for them defensively. It was again the fact that they had no perimeter defense. So I would not be. I don't think trading Brook's the right idea. I'd say just go get a good defensive shooting guard, and then kind of just run it back. I guess hope for some better injury luck, and also teach Doc X's and O's, please.
I hate that hire, but that's an episode that's a whole different segment for another day. It's not worth getting into. But another guy on the market, we got Isaiah Stewart from Detroit. They kind of like to move him. He is an intriguing player to me because I do think he has more value than your average NBA fan would think. If I'm not mistaken, he can shoot the ball a little bit.
Yeah, this past year it was at like 38% on like 4 attempts.
That's what I thought.
And the year before that, it was 4 attempts as well, and a little bit lower percentage. Because he started his career as kind of like an undersized center, still provided a lot of value in that spot. But now with this, it does kind of move him back more into the power forward role, which I do think fits him a little bit better. It's kind of like the Wendell Carter thing where they moved him to power forward and it started going really well. Obviously, Carter's back at center now, but these undersized centers that are kind of learning to shoot and learning, perimeter skills and stuff like that, being able to move them to power forward and still and be competent on offense in that aspect, I do really like that, because then all of a sudden the actual big man skills and traits that they have get amplified at power forward as opposed to being like a little bit underwhelming at center. So I think Isaiah Stewart has a lot more value now than he did even at the beginning of his career when he kind of broke out, or in year 2 when he became the starter, basically. Mm-hmm. I would really like him on the Cavs as like a backup power forward, especially if you do keep both Jarrett and Evan, because then all of a sudden then you can have, anytime he's out there, he's going to be next to either Jarrett or Evan. Mm-hmm. And I like both those fits.
Yeah, it definitely gives flexibility.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Also, it'd be kind of interesting to see what he looks like in Oklahoma City, because with Oklahoma City, typically what everyone thinks they're looking for is like a rim running center and then move Chet to the 4. Whereas this, it'd be kind of moving Stewart to the 4 and keeping Chet at the 5, so you can still have that flexibility while still improving your kind of interior big man stuff. So that would also be interesting. But I definitely like Stewart, and I do think he's going to be, whoever's going to trade for him is going to give up a good package for him, and he's going to provide a lot of stuff for him as well. So,
I know most NBA fans just know Isaiah Stewart for getting in a fight with LeBron, but he's a solid player.
Yeah, I like these too.
So Isaiah Hartenstein is a free agent. Knicks are expected to agree to a deal with him. He'll stay around, which has kind of created a market for Mitchell Robinson. There's a decent chance that he does get traded. Two teams listed as kind of interested would be New Orleans Pelicans and the Memphis Grizzlies. I like Mitchell Robinson. I think some team will like him too. I think the Knicks probably are making the right decision moving him because they got kind of three guys that can play. And so Robinson's probably the odd one out. So I understand the thought process behind that. What do you think, like, let's say Memphis, for example, what do you kind of think a trade package would look to acquire Mitchell Robinson from the Knicks?
It's interesting because Memphis has a lot of guys, but I'm not sure. It's either like they're not super willing to trade them, or another team isn't going to value them that high. Like Vince Williams would be a great trade, but I also think they're going to be looking more into keeping him. So you're kind of looking more at like a Luke Kennard, maybe like a Jake LaRavia or another young guy or something like that, and then like a pick or two. And that as far as like a pure value perspective, I think that's decent. I'm not exactly sure if kind of what the Knicks need in a return from Robinson, because they seem to be pretty like kind of set with what they've got. Like, I mean, point guard, you got Brunson, obviously. I guess they don't really have like a backup point guard, so that would make sense. At the wing, you got Dante, Josh Hart, OG as well. Alec Burks was amazing for them. I'm sure he's going to resign. Assuming he's even a free agent. I don't know if Burks' contract is up, but
they need to re-sign OG.
Yeah, they need to re-sign OG as well. So I'm not 100% sure what they're even looking to get back in a trade. I really don't know. If anything, maybe you're looking at like front court depth, and then if you are looking at front court depth, why exactly is Robinson getting traded? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think, I guess backup point guard would be the best thing. I don't think Memphis has given up like Marcus Smart or anything. That would just put the Knicks on a whole nother level of annoying. Yeah, the Grizzlies are absolutely a team that is going to trade for a center this offseason, and it's going to be a good center. It's just a matter of like what exactly they can give up, and I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be. So far, it's like Luke Kennard, maybe Santi Aldama. I guess, you know what? Never mind. If New York, I wonder if they move on from Randall too, because if they do, then Aldama would be a very good fit there as well. That'd make things very interesting. Also, does that mean Bojan goes to the 4? I'm not sure. That's definitely. New York has a lot of different ways they can take this, because they can really kind of reshape a lot of their roster. They've got a very good core between, Brunson, OG, assuming he resigns again, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, and Hartenstein. There's definitely room to kind of play with the other pieces around that. What?
I can't stand Hartenstein. Can't stand him, but he is solid.
Come on, man. Former Cavalier.
Really? He was on the Cavs?
Yeah.
What year?
2021.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't watching 2021. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no. We got him at the deadline. We traded JaVale to Denver and then got back Hartenstein and like 3 second-round picks. It was like peak Kobe acquiring second-round picks for nothing move. Yeah, but then at that point, it was like we had just traded for Jared Allen too, drafted Evan Mobley that offseason as well. So it's like Hartenstein was only going to be a like injury replacement guy. Yeah. So if he was able to stay as the backup center, then I do think we would have re-signed him, but there wasn't really a spot for him. So he went and signed with the Clippers instead, and then just really took off from there. So I kind of like Hartenstein because he was on our team. He was good for us. I recognized he was good. I wanted to keep him, but it just didn't make any sense. And then I'm glad it worked out somewhere for him. I do like Hartenstein for that reason.
Yeah, I don't like him.
But yeah, New York, if they Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what they're looking back for in a Robinson trade. Maybe just salary filler and picks, maybe like a backup point guard or something. That'd be cool.
A lot of big man movement. Looks like it's going to be a big man heavy offseason.
Yeah, a lot of suitors.
Walker Kessler as well. Throw him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Rumors about him. What do you think about Walker Kessler as a player? Because I'll be straight up with it. I don't know. I don't keep up with the Jazz. I haven't really kept up with the Jazz. So I don't know too much about Walker Kessler. I know he has some value, but I don't know, and he's young.
Yeah. So
as
he's
young,
rookie,
he's white, and he's not bad. That's about it.
Yeah. As a rookie, he was pretty insane coming out of the gate. Was pretty easily the best defensive. Yeah, I'm going to say the best defensive rookie because I don't think there was anyone else that was really taken over defensively. The thing is, Utah has been kind of playing a little bit of 5-out style. They've been having like Kelly Olynyk at center and stuff, so he was kind of coming off the bench for a lot of it. But then this year, it's almost like he took a little bit of a step back, and I really don't know why. Because he had an outstanding, rookie year, and then just kind of this year, it's been not as impactful. So I'm not entirely sure what happened on that aspect of it, but the short answer is it's kind of like a Rudy Gobert 2.0. Obviously not to the same level, but it's a lot of the same like skill set. Big 7-footer, definitely paint oriented more so than perimeter. He's big, but also not like Jonas Valanciunas, Yusuf Nurkic big. More of like still kind of skinny, but not like that skinny. He's strong, but he's not like insanely strong. Is kind of the way to put it. And then offense, there's not a whole lot there besides offensive rebounding. So it is kind of like Rudy Gobert 2.0, but just in a lesser form. So I do think he's very good. I would like to see him be in a position where the offense is more kind of a 4-out-1-in style, like a, Memphis, like I guess Memphis specifically. In New Orleans, he'd be more just like purely a defensive player on offense on that end. It's more of just like dump offs and stuff like that. I don't see a whole lot of pick and roll happening in New Orleans for him, but in Memphis, I absolutely do see it. So with Kessler, I'm going to say Memphis as my favorite kind of landing spot for him. I just don't know what exactly that looks like in a trade return. Because I'm not entirely sure, again, kind of what Utah is looking for. I don't know. Maybe they'd be looking for, I was going to say power forward, but they're going to be trading John Collins and then just moving Lowry to power forward. So it's like, I don't know, maybe some wings.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Yeah, Kessler for some wings is kind of like the ideal return, but I don't know who's got wings to give up like that.
Nobody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everybody needs a wing.
Yeah. So
we'll see. We'll see what goes down that route.
There's definitely a lot of suitors for centers this year. It's just as far as like a player return, there's not a whole lot that these suitors have to give up. Maybe it's just picks.
Yeah. I could see
Mitchell
that.
Robinson just for like picks or something. Walker Kessler just for picks. Maybe that is what it is.
Throw on a young end of the bench guy and call it and some pick. Yeah, that's kind of how I see a lot of these trades happening because your teams that want centers and big men don't want to give up the pieces that they need. They just want to add to their team for the most part.
Yeah. So
I understand.
Yeah, in that case, it leaves you with picks as what you're giving up. So in that case, it does make sense.
Then, would you say this is the biggest news of the week, other than Redick being hired and the Caruso trade? I think it probably is. Is that the growing belief from the league is Jimmy Butler is expected to be traded?
Yeah, if that's the case and he does get traded, that's easily your biggest name getting moved this offseason because it's pretty set. I think everyone at this point is confident Donovan is going to re-sign. Just a matter of when it's actually going to happen. The PG-13 moving stuff has kind of died down. Zach LaVine's not a big enough name to be
or good enough.
Jimmy definitely outshines Zach LaVine in that aspect. And then Ingram doesn't outshine Jimmy either. So if Jimmy does get moved, that is easily the biggest move of the offseason.
Agreed. Miami should do it. I think Miami should do it. They're not going to win a ring with him. He's too old. Like, get what you can out of it now and move him. I think that's a fantastic idea for Miami. I just know they're stubborn, so who knows if they do it or not.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I think Miami really fumbled by not getting Dame this past year. All of a sudden, he gets stuck with Terry Rozier at the deadline, who was not great for them. So it's like, they really needed they needed a star shot creating guard to pair with like Jimmy and Bam and the rest of this team, and they didn't get it. They went and got Terry Rozier, who kind of fills that role, but not as well. So
and he didn't play good for him.
Yeah, no, he wasn't good for them.
Yeah.
So I do think they really fumbled this. And now all of a sudden that guy is just not on the board. Donovan, again, most likely is going to re-sign. That was your last real big domino that was going to fall. Because who's the next guy that really fits that mold that is going to be available? Like, I'm looking across the board. I'm not really seeing it. I guess Trey, but I don't think Trey is going to be that for him. What? Not that I don't see Trey being that for him. I don't see them being able to make a move for Trey.
Yeah.
I guess their saving grace is like one of the Atlanta guards.
Well, I do think Miami could
acquire one of those.
I don't. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I also think Miami could do something stupid and say, like, let's get Paul George and go for it. And it's not going to work.
They're stuck in the 2010s.
It's just not going to work. Miami is, okay, if you're a Miami fan, it's not like time to panic that your championship window is closed. Trade Jimmy Butler. Get assets back before you just let them sit there and rot and keep getting older. You still have Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and
they got
Nikola Jovic.
Did you already say Bam?
Well, that's a given. Bam too.
Yeah.
So you still
they definitely do have four guys core there.
Yeah, and you get Jimmy will give you a haul back. It won't be what like he was like 32 years old type of haul, but you'll still get stuff back for Jimmy. You're right in a spot where you still have a chance to jumpstart your rebuild, and instead of rebuilding for 7 years, 5 years, 4 years, you have a little 2-year retooling period, and then you're ready to maybe go get that superstar like you were last year, and it's just a different looking team. But I think they should be self-aware and make that move. Who knows if they do, though?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is always nice to have teams to have a little bit of self-awareness. Honestly, I think they kind of jumped the gun a little bit before I would have, but I definitely can see kind of why they're doing it. Jimmy's not exactly going to be a guy that's going to age like the greatest ever.
He already hasn't.
Yeah.
Last year, he was definitely a drop-off for him.
Yeah, it's a hard play style, hard on your body type of play style that he does.
Yeah, last year he wasn't like when you look at what made Jimmy Butler great, it was like always like, he's a dog, elite defender, elite effort, good at getting buckets when it counts. Wasn't that last year? He was no longer an elite defender. Still definitely a plus defender, but not elite best shooting guard or best defensive shooting guard in the league. Like, he was no longer that. Yeah. He was a good defender. It was nothing to write home about. He was a good defender. He looked like he was 35, 36 years old. I can't imagine it's going to just reverse next year. And reluctantly, if you're Miami, like, realize it now and move on from him, because that's the guy you're trying to win around. But when you're already seeing signs of a fall off, sucker another team into it. Don't be the team to have it happen to. But it's kind of sad. I like Jimmy Butler. It's kind of sad seeing him get older. Let him go get one, man. Send him where he wants to go. That, still gives you a decent value, and let him go get one. Yeah, I'd say probably the two dominoes that I could see falling this offseason would be Jimmy and then PG-13. And I guess throwing whatever Atlanta guard gets moved. But PG-13 will be your other really big name that could potentially move. A lot of smoke regarding Philadelphia. But actually, reports came out this week that the interest in Paul George has kind of faded from Philly's side. I don't know if it's like a smoke screen or they're just throwing stuff out there. I don't know. But if they can't get him, they have a whole ton of targets and a ton of cap space. There's rumblings that they want Zach LaVine. Came out. Zach LaVine is purely a backup plan. They do not want to devote a lot of resources to getting him or trying to get him. There's not that type of interest from anybody in the NBA, but not from the 76ers. PG kind of controls his own destiny, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if Paul George pulls a James Harden, opts into his contract, and then kind of works on a trade from there. Where he goes, who knows?
Yeah, because, Philly is kind of like the only team that really has that kind of cap space to sign, max free agent like that. So, yeah, if he does go somewhere else besides Philly, it is going to have to be via sign and trade. Yeah. I still kind of think I'm going to lean slightly more towards him staying in Los Angeles than him going anywhere else. But yeah, in the event that he does move, it probably is going to be somewhere else other than Philly. Well, if it is, it's going to be a sign trade. But I don't understand exactly from Philly's perspective why they would be out on signing him. I think it fits super well. And then also they have cap space, so they don't have to give up anything for it. It's like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense
Paul
to
George
me.
To that roster. Anyone else that you get, you're going to have to give up something to get them. So I don't get not doing it from Philly's side.
I struggle to completely believe it because it makes too much sense. Like you got Maxey and Embiid. You add in Paul George, like he's a perfect fit to go along with what you have. It's like you started Kelly Oubre last year, so now take Kelly Oubre and just make him Paul George. Like that's a ridiculous upgrade.
Yeah,
I don't really get the thought process behind it, other than the fact that like maybe you want to use your cap space on some, spread it out a little bit with some younger guys. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. We'll see what happens. I don't believe it 100%.
I don't think I do either.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. No, Paul George is from LA. I don't know if he will leave either. There's been like I wonder if James Harden is in Paul George's ear. Like Daryl Morey sucks. You don't want to go play for Daryl Morey, and so then like it's all Philadelphia has backed their interest off, or if it's more Paul George's backed their interest off. I guess that would be the one thing that would make sense. More than Philly just straight up saying, well, we're not really that interested anymore. But I don't really get it. We'll see. I don't really believe it. We'll see. I just can't wait. Let's get free agency started like tomorrow. No, let's get a Donovan Mitchell an extension tomorrow. That's what we need.
Absolutely. That and just a decision on the head coach.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd prefer Borrego. I also just want something to happen. Like, please.
Yeah, definitely. We will. I'm guessing we'll have a film breakdown of the coach coming this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would assume a deal to be made this week. I mean, if not, that's wild, but
yeah.
We'll try to get that out for you. And then NBA draft, when is that? Wednesday or Thursday or Friday?
The 26th is the first day of it, so that means that is
Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, Wednesday, because the 28th is Friday. Remember that.
Okay. maybe we'll do like a little like a live podcast during the draft. That might be an idea. It's Wednesday when we usually record.
That'd be interesting.
We might go ahead and do that. Keep an eye out for that. We'd like to start posting like some YouTube content, like some separate from the podcast, like fully, just YouTube, where we can really dive into the X's and O's and stuff, and kind of show everyone that we know what we're talking about. We're not just, talking heads, just yapping the yap like Stephen A. and the stuff he said about JJ Redick, which was ridiculous. But we're not going to get into that. So,
yeah, I want to dive into the actual basketball.
Yeah, 100%. But we would like to start bringing some of that stuff. If anybody has any ideas, reach out to us on Instagram or X, wherever you guys
YouTube
can reach us. YouTube, literally anywhere, yeah. Spotify, Q&A. There's one just asking what you enjoyed about the episode, every single episode. You can just say, hey, I got a suggestion. We're open to improving any way that we can and making our show more enjoyable to you as a listener. This is our 6th episode that we've recorded, so we're really new to this. We're just trying to get 1% better each episode. And I hope you guys enjoy the ride and stick around and watch us improve. But anyone that does, feel a certain way or listen to it and like it, reach out and let us know what you like, what you don't like. Leave us a review of our podcast. I'd be greatly appreciated. It doesn't go unnoticed. So I do thank you for anyone that has done that. Appreciate to anyone tuning in. Episode will be coming out Wednesday. Might be a draft special. We'll see. We'll talk about that. And yeah, just keep your eyes open. Again, thank you to anyone that watched. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a blessed rest of your day.